Hi, I'm Jess. I am the founder and CEO of an early stage startup based in Sydney called Remote Social. We are tackling the problem of how to bring remote and hybrid teams together to socialize and build culture online. It's a relatively new business in an incredibly emerging space. I formed the business with two co-founders, one on the product side and one very strong on the marketing side, the Antler program, which is where I met my two co-founders. And coming into Antler, I was really focused on finding the right co-founders to work with, which was really the thing that prompted me to apply for the program. In terms of my career background, I would say that I have a very diverse and non-linear career, which is something that I've honestly has caused me to kind of struggle and question myself at times. I started out my career in media and communications, working with the ABC and then later with ACP magazines, moving from a research role into an events management and publicity role, and then spent some time working as a journalist before joining Amnesty International in their public affairs unit, which was a job that I absolutely loved and spent 3 years doing. It was very, very meaningful work, and it allowed me to interact with real world-class domain experts in their field. I think I had a very strong sense by the end of my time at Amnesty that there was an entrepreneur clawing its way out of me. And since then, I've been working in a range of different entrepreneurial ventures. When I lived in Hong Kong, I started my own business, which was a children's apparel company, and took that from an idea through to manufacturing and working directly with factories in China to stocking it in some of the leading department stores and taste-making stores around the world and having celebrities and their kids wearing it. So it was an incredible journey and ultimately one that really taught me a lot and formed the basis, I guess, of what has given me the confidence to now pursue my own VC-backed startup. I think the worst piece of career advice I ever received was a piece of criticism that I had from my very first manager, and that was related to the suitability of my voice for any sort of a broadcast role at a very young and impressionable time in my career. She was a lovely woman, and it was said not with any sort of intention to kind of derail me, but I think fundamentally I started to question myself at a time where I thought that I was on track for something to try to pursue a certain type of path. And I think it really derailed me at a very crucial point in my career, and fundamentally probably just from a confidence perspective. She had absolutely no bad intentions in kind of giving me this advice. But I think it's taught me, and something that I'll absolutely be very mindful of as a leader when we're hiring young staff, and something when I'm working with people in more junior roles, is that the way you deliver these messages to people at very crucial and very sensitive times in their career is incredibly important, because you really never know what that person is going through in terms of how they're processing messages about where they might fit into an organization or what their journey may look like. So I think that was one of the sort of less skillful pieces of advice that I received, even though, again, she had absolutely no intention of in any sort of bad way. I think the best career advice I have ever received is probably in line with the best life advice I've ever received, which is to treat other people the way you want to be treated and to go through life treating people with respect. Ultimately, in your career, you never know who you're going to come across further down the track or what your network is going to look like in 5 or 10 years. No one will ever hold it against you if you don't know the answer to a question. But if you lie about something, for example, then obviously that has a very different result. If you treat people with respect at all stages of your career, and if you're honest about your capabilities and honest about your intentions in any given situation, then that will absolutely serve you well in the long run. Which that I had known early in my career was how important it is, particularly in those first few jobs that you take out of university or out of school if you choose not to pursue a tertiary education, is to follow the learnings, follow every opportunity to grow yourself, to learn from people who are more experienced than you are, and to broaden your experience and your mindset. I don't think it's ever the right decision to follow the money, particularly earlier in your career. That's something that I learned the hard way. Not that my first job was a very high-paying one, but I think I could have spent a lot more time and energy focusing on roles that could have prepared me better for other things down the track. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I've made in my career is that there have been a couple of instances where I've stayed in jobs where I've been really, really unhappy. I don't think I would ever advocate hopping from job to job, but I think it's really, really important to do your due diligence going into any role on who you're going to be working with, what the role actually entails, and to make sure that you arm yourself with as much information as possible. I think going into any new role, particularly early in your career or at a point of transition, knowledge is absolutely power. And I think by doing that groundwork before you accept a new role or before you embark on a new journey or a new project with co-founders or employees or employers, whatever the case may be, by arming yourself with that knowledge and information and making sure that you have a clear understanding between you and whoever you're going to be working with, I think that that can really do a lot to sort of nip any potential issues in the bud. Fundamentally, I believe that when you are meeting with anyone to talk about a potential career collaboration, whether it's a project together or whether it's coming on board as an employee, it absolutely should be a two-way process. It absolutely should be you doing your due diligence on them as much as it is about telling them about all the amazing things that you can do. I think interviews are very much set up as situations where it's the employer that has the power, particularly for people who are early in their career. However, I fundamentally believe that it should be a two-way street, and that the best interviews you have as an employer are the interviews where the employee or the prospective employee is coming in and is really well researched on the organization and is interviewing you as much as you are interviewing them. So that's something that I would love to go back and give myself the advice on in my younger years, to say, actually, you hold the power regardless of which seat you're sitting in. And as I've grown into my ability to be able to make that a direct two-way conversation, that has really opened up a lot of doors to me. And I've found that I've had much better success in interview situations where I've gone in well-researched and well-prepared and actually knowing my worth that I bring to that given situation. I think that something that's helped me a lot in my career has been my ability to build relationships with people. I consider myself to be very genuine. I try to never promise something that I can't deliver, and I try to maintain those relationships even once I've moved on from a given organization. So I genuinely care about the organizations that I have worked for. I genuinely care about the people I've worked both for and with, and the people who've worked for me. And I try to throw myself into every project absolutely wholeheartedly. So I don't take on something that I don't think that I can commit to. And I think that that's served me really well in the long run. I think by being genuine and by approaching things in good faith with a whole heart and really applying your best self, I think that that's really stood me in good stead. I still think I've got a really long way to go to get anywhere close to achieving my ultimate ambitions, but I'm really proud of how far I've come, and learning to embrace my own strengths and my own weaknesses, I think has put me in a really good position to understand myself a bit better, understand where I need a bit more support, understand where I need to do more work to become the best version of my professional self. And I think, that's been really powerful for me, that learning of not just understanding my strengths, but understanding my weaknesses, and how to build on that as I grow.